Alright, so today we are going to be creating a program to basically detect if an object is near a robot and have the robot make a noise. So first, before we dabble into that, let me show you guys how this is going to look. So I'm going to expand my screen. So it's basically going to work like this. So I've already programmed this and I put it in a robot. So my robot is normally just driving, and when an object comes in front of it, as you can see, it stops and says object. I'll do that one more time. And so it doesn't continue moving until that object is removed from its path. So that's what we're going to be programming today. So let me minimize my face a little bit. Alright, so you're going to want to get into Makecode first. So I'm going to get into a new project. So get into Makecode and click on New Project. That way we're in a blank little workspace. Alright, so the first thing we're going to want to do is delete one of the blocks. So you have two default blocks when you open up a new project. That's the onStart block and the forever block. And the difference between these is that on start, everything in this program is only going to run once. So anything in the forever loop, that's going to run repeatedly. It's going to run forever. It's going to continue to run. So we want our program to run forever. And we want it to run forever because we want the robot to continue to detect if there's an object in its path, or else it's just going to detect it once and it'll continue moving and not detect it again. So we're going to delete this onStart block. Now we have our forever block, and let's go ahead and start programming. So the first thing I want to add is I want to add a way for the robot to show what distances are objects in front of it. So to do that, we're going to use a little block called the show value block. So go into the bricks category and then go all the way down until you see the block that says show value. So I'm going to take that one out and put it in my forever block. Now it's going to show the value of something. So we want our value to be a distance. So in where it says show value, we're going to say distance. And of course we are using the ultrasonic sensor, which is what senses distance. So we want to measure the distance. I'm actually going to look at the left here, because right now the simulation on the left is actually showing me what I'm doing in my program. So I'm just going to click on the screen to kind of maximize it, and then there I can see it says distance, which is basically what I wrote in the program. But I kind of want it centered a little bit on the screen. So if you guys want, you can just put in a line number. I'm going to put 6 so it goes further down, and I'm actually going to add some spaces in front of distance so it kind of moves a little to the right. And of course this step is optional. I just kind of like mine in the center. Maybe one more space. Alright, that looks good. So what's the values that we want to show? So we want to show what the ultrasonic sensor is reading. So in order to do that, we're going to go into sensors, so the second little tab, and we're going to go all the way down till we see where it says ultrasonic sensor. So here it says ultrasonic sensor, and we want to show the distance. So we're going to take this third block where it says ultrasonic and 4, and we're going to put it in here. So right now it's going to show the distance that the ultrasonic sensor picks up. So if you look at the left part of your screen, it's no longer 0, it's actually showing a distance. So it also just brought in an ultrasonic sensor after we brought that block in. So if you move this little red bar up and down, you can change the distance on the ultrasonic sensor, therefore changing what's on the screen. So if I move it up, it's getting lower. If I move it down, it's getting higher. Alright. And so another good practice is to always clear your screen every time you run the program. So we're going to go back in Brick, and we're going to go all the way down to where it says clear screen. And we're going to put that at the top. And that's just in case we add some more text. We want our screen to always clear when the program starts. Alright, so the next thing that we want to do is I want my robot to run normally when there's nothing in front of it. So in order to do that, I'm going to go into Motors, so the third tab, and here I can see a bunch of different blocks for motors. So I'm going to take out the fourth block, which is the steer motor block, and basically that's going to make my robot go forward normally. And so it says B plus C, so those are the 2 ports, and if you guys look on the left, it shows us our 2 motors. So this is what's driving the robot. So these are going to keep on going forward, and we're going to add a little interrupter next, which is going to basically give a condition. So right now it's continuing to move forward because it hasn't sensed anything. So what we're going to do next is we're going to add something called an if statement. And so that's going to be in the logic tab, so the one that's blue with the 2 little arrows. So we're going to go into logic, and we're going to take out the first block that says if, and we're going to put it in our program. So what this is saying is if something is true, then the robot's going to do something. But if it's not true, it's just going to continue doing what we put up at the top here, which is to continue to move and to display the distance on our ultrasonic sensor. So if something is true, then it's going to do something. So what do we want to be true in order to have the robot make a reaction? So I think that we should say if the ultrasonic sensor detects a distance less than maybe a certain number, then we want it to maybe stop or make a noise, which is what I showed on the robot earlier. So that's what we're going to program. So we're going to say if something is true, and then we're going to have the robot do something. So I'm going to go back into logic actually. I'm going to take one of the comparison blocks out. So I'm going to just take out the first one. And that's going to basically compare 2 things, and this is going to detect if it's true or not. So if what our statement is in here is true, then the robot's going to do something. So we want to compare distance. So we're going to go back into sensors, and we're going to pick up that same block that we did before. So we're going to go all the way down to ultrasonic sensor. And we're going to take out the one that says ultrasonic for distance. And we're going to put that in our first little slot. So now that says if the ultrasonic sensor distance is equal to, but we don't want ours to be equal to. So we want to detect a distance that is less than a certain number. So we're going to click on where it says equal to, the drop down menu will come, and we're going to click on this one. So this is less than or equal to. So that means if the ultrasonic sensor is less than or equal to a certain number. So it can be less than a number or equal to a number, and then it'll have this reaction after the if statement. So what we want our ultrasonic sensor to be less than or equal to, I find that 5 is a good number. So this will be in centimeters as well. So anything that is less than or equal to 5 centimeters, so it could be 5, 3, 2, or 1, or 0, then the ultrasonic sensor is going to have a reaction. So I'm going to type in 5 here. So now if we run our program, if our ultrasonic sensor detects something less than 5, it's going to do something. But we haven't actually put anything inside here. So it's just going to actually continue and move normally. So what we want our robot to do is we want our robot to kind of make a noise to indicate that it's encountered an object in its path. So I'm going to go into the music tab, and I'm going to click on the first one that says play sound effect. And I'm just going to leave this right here, and I'm going to move the little scroll bar on the left, and I'm going to move it all the way up in the simulator and just see what it does to see if our program is working. So interesting. So when I move my little bar past 5 centimeters, so below 5 centimeters, it gives me a cat purring sound, which is exactly what I have in my program. We'll do that now. And then when I move it above, it stops. So now we know our program is working. But I don't think having a cat purr is the best option to know that our robot has encountered an object. So I'm just going to click on the drop down. And there's a bunch of different sounds we can make. So I'm going to just look through. And I think I'm going to use one of the information categories. So I'm going to click on the information one, and I'm going to go all the way down till I see maybe something that says object or detect or something like that. Luckily we have both, but I'm going to click on object. So that way we know there's an object. Alright. So now if I go back to my simulator and I move it below 5.
Object.
It says object, which is perfect and still displaying our distance. So we want to add 2 other things to this program, and I think we have a successful program. So we're going to add 1 to stop the motors and 2 to actually write an object is detected onto our little LCD screen here on the left. So to make our motors stop, we're going to go back into motors, and we're going to go to the block that says stop all motors. So you might have to scroll down a little bit. We're going to take that out, and we're going to put it below our play sound effect. So right now, if I go back to my simulation on the left, the wheels are turning, and it's showing our distance. But once this value falls below 5, it's going to play our sound effect and stop the motors. And let's test that.
Object.
So that worked perfectly. If you guys saw, it said 0%, so that's the power, and it said 0% power, which means that the motor stopped. So that's great. The next thing that we want to add is we want to show that our object is actually detected onto the screen. So we're going to go back in Brick. We're going to go all the way down to where it says show string, and we're going to take that out and put it under our stop all motor block. And a string is basically a fancy word for text. So we're going to type in here object detected. So that way the robot's going to show us that the object is detected as well as make a sound. And I'm going to change that to line 6 as well, so it's kind of centered. And I'm going to add a couple spaces so it's kind of in the middle. And let's go ahead and test that. So once the simulation loads, I'm going to bring it all the way below 5 and see what it does.
Object.
Awesome.
Object.
So if you guys saw, it says object detected when our value went below 5, and it also turned off our motors, and it made a sound effect. So we made the robot do 3 things now, and once we go above 5 again, it continues to move and it continues to display our distance. So that's basically how you make a little object detector program. And if you guys want, you can go down here on the bottom left and change the name of your program. So we can call this Object Detector. That way we know what the program is called when we come back to it. That's basically how you make this program.